To you it has been given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. Matthew 13 verse 11. What if the teachings of Jesus were far more mystical, far more powerful than we've ever been told? What if behind the familiar parables and well-worn sermons lies a hidden map, a path not just to salvation in the afterlife, but to inner transformation, spiritual awakening, and divine union, here and now? For centuries, seekers have whispered of a Jesus most never see. Not the icon in stained glass. Not the distant figure nailed to a cross. But a spiritual master, a keeper of sacred knowledge, a teacher of hidden wisdom encoded in symbols, metaphors, and energetic truths. A Christ whose message was not only one of faith, but of deep initiation into the mysteries of the soul. Tonight, we peel back the veil. In this episode, we embark on a journey into the esoteric dimensions of Jesus' life and message. We'll explore the secret threads that connect Jesus to ancient mystery schools, the deeper meaning behind his most cryptic sayings, and how the Christ consciousness he embodied is not just a historical artifact, but a living force within you. This is not a debate of religion. This is not an attempt to reduce Jesus to myth or elevate him into dogma. This is an invitation to hear his words with new ears, to see his life as a mystical path, and to recognize that the kingdom he spoke of was never in the clouds, but in consciousness itself. So prepare to enter the desert with him, to climb the mount, to walk the inner path where bread becomes light and water becomes life. Because Jesus did not only teach, he initiated. And tonight, we begin to uncover what only the initiated were ever meant to see. To understand Jesus as an esoteric teacher, we must stop asking, what did he mean by this or that verse, and instead ask, what path was he initiating us into? The esoteric traditions have always known, true wisdom is veiled. Not to deceive, but to protect. Because truth is not merely information, it is transformation, and transformation requires readiness. When Jesus spoke of those who have ears to hear, he was echoing the ancient law of initiation. Only those who are inwardly prepared can grasp what lies beneath the surface. Let's look at some of his teachings through this hidden lens. The kingdom of God is within you. To the exoteric mind, this is poetic. To the esoteric mind, it is revolutionary. This kingdom is not a future paradise, but a state of consciousness, a divine awareness buried beneath the noise of the ego, waiting to be awakened. It is the stillness behind the storm, the light behind the eyes. It is you, unconditioned and eternal. This mirrors teachings from Advaita Vedanta and mystical Kabbalah, where the divine is not found by reaching out, but by turning inward through silence, surrender, and self-inquiry. Unless a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. Again, not a call to dogmatic conversion, but to initiation. To be born again in esoteric terms means to die to your false self, to your attachments, your illusions, your roles. It means entering the dark night of the soul, the symbolic tomb from which only the awakened self arises. This process is mirrored in Hermetic alchemy, where the base metal, the ego, is purified through fire until it becomes gold, the awakened soul. The crucifixion is not just a historical event. It is a spiritual formula. I am the vine, you are the branches. This isn't just an agricultural metaphor. It's a metaphysical truth. Jesus is not referring to his physical self, but to the Christ principle, the divine essence flowing through all beings. Just as the vine gives life to the branches, so too does the Christ consciousness animate the soul. This is not about worship, it's about union. It's about awakening to the truth that what flows through him, flows through you. In Eastern terms, this would be like recognizing that the Atman, the individual soul, is not separate from Brahman, the cosmic source. Jesus is not asking for belief. He's inviting us to remember. Why parables? Parables are coded transmissions. Like Zen koans, they bypass the rational mind and strike the deeper layers of consciousness. Jesus knew the mind could argue forever, but the soul only responds to symbols. The story of the prodigal son is not just about a wayward child, it's the story of every soul who forgets their origin, squanders divine inheritance, and then awakens in the mud, longing for home. And when the return begins, the Father, symbol of divine source, doesn't punish, but embraces. Every parable contains this kind of multi-layered wisdom. They are maps for those willing to look beyond the literal. Jesus' teachings form a spiritual algorithm, a sacred architecture. Each phrase, each story, each miracle is like a breadcrumb left for those walking the inner path. Not all could follow. Some ridiculed. Others crucified. But a few understood and passed it on in whispers, symbols, and sacred texts long hidden from the public eye. These weren't mere followers. They were initiates. And their legacy is not lost. It lives in you. So far, we've explored how Jesus spoke in code through parables, symbols, and sacred metaphors. But what exactly was he pointing to? What is the deeper substance behind his words? To answer this, we must look not at what he said, but at how he lived. Jesus was not simply a man who became divine. He was the divine that remembered itself in human form. In esoteric terms, he represents the template, the archetype of the fully awakened human being. This is the essence of Christ consciousness, not a person, but a frequency, a state of being in perfect union with the divine, beyond separation, beyond ego, beyond fear. In Eastern philosophy, this mirrors the concept of Buddhahood, the innate potential for full enlightenment in every being. Just as Gautama became the Buddha, Yeshua became the Christ. And just as the Buddha pointed his followers toward their own awakening, so did Jesus say, "You are the light of the world. The works that I do, you will do also, and greater." These are not flattering sound bites. They are spiritual instructions. He was saying, what I am, you can become. What I know, you already carry within you. Wake up. Initiation through inner death. Every true spiritual path requires death. Not the death of the body, but the death of illusion. Jesus modeled this through his own journey, temptation in the desert, confronting the ego and shadow. Miracles and teachings, channeling divine energy. Betrayal and crucifixion, the ego's final surrender. Resurrection and ascension, emergence of the eternal self. This isn't just his story. It's our story. Mystery schools across Egypt, Greece, Persia, and India taught similar paths of inner death and rebirth. Initiates were symbolically buried in tombs or sarcophagi, left in darkness, until they transcended the fear of death and emerged reborn. Jesus' tomb? A metaphor for the sacred womb of transformation. His resurrection? Not just a miracle, but the revealing of the eternal essence we all possess. Christ as a cosmic principle. Now, let's go even deeper. In esoteric Christianity and Gnostic teachings, Christ is more than just Jesus. It is a cosmic force, the Logos, the divine blueprint behind all creation. In the beginning was the Word, Logos, and the Word was God. John 1 verse 1. This Logos is the vibration, the consciousness, the intelligent order that holds galaxies in motion and seeds awareness in the heart. In Kabbalistic terms, it is Tiferet, the balancing point of beauty, harmony, and divine love. Jesus, as an awakened soul, embodied this Logos. But he did not claim it as his alone. Instead, he said, "Abide in me, and I in you." Meaning, align with the Logos. Awaken the divine code within. Become one with the stream of cosmic intelligence. This is the Christ not as a historical figure, but as a living presence, a vibrational field you can enter through meditation, prayer, love, and surrender. Why this knowledge was hidden? If this truth is so powerful, why was it hidden? Simple, because power without preparation leads to corruption. Just as a child cannot wield lightning, humanity needed to evolve before certain truths could be received. That's why Jesus said, "I have many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now." Mystery traditions have always used initiation to protect sacred knowledge. The deeper teachings were reserved for those whose hearts had been purified, whose egos had been humbled, and whose intentions were aligned with love. But now, in this age of awakening, when veils are thinning and ancient truths are resurfacing, you are being called. Not to worship blindly, but to remember boldly. All this wisdom is beautiful, mysterious, profound. But if it stays in the intellect, it becomes nothing more than spiritual poetry. The real question is, how do you live it? How do you awaken the Christ consciousness within you? Below are practical gateways, ancient yet timeless, drawn from both Jesus' teachings and the esoteric traditions that mirror his path. 1. Inner stillness, the portal to the kingdom. Jesus often withdrew into silence, solitude, and nature. He meditated in the wilderness. He prayed in secret. He said, "When you pray, go into your inner room, close the door and pray to your Father who is in secret." Matthew 6 verse 6. This is more than a suggestion, it's an invitation into the sacred inner temple. Practice. Begin each day with 10-15 minutes of silent sitting. No agenda, no request. Simply listen. Feel the breath. Observe your thoughts without clinging. Allow the divine presence to emerge, not from outside, but from the space between your thoughts. Over time, this simple practice builds a bridge to the inner kingdom. 2. Self-examination. Dying before death. Jesus said, "Deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me." In esoteric terms, the cross is the crucifixion of the false self, the ego, the mask, the conditioned identity. To walk this path, you must observe your patterns, attachments, and fears, without judgment, but with piercing honesty. Practice. Each evening, reflect, what part of me was reactive today? Where did I act from fear instead of love? Where did I abandon my truth? Write it down. This practice is your inner crucifixion, the sacred death that leads to resurrection. 3. Embodied love, the divine frequency. Jesus didn't just speak of love, he became it. Love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. This isn't moralism, it's energetic mastery. Love is the frequency of Christ consciousness. To anchor it is to dissolve all that separates. Practice. In moments of conflict, pause. Breathe into your heart. Ask, what would love do now, not sentimentally, but wisely? Choose the higher response, not for the other, but for the sanctity of your own soul. Over time, love becomes your vibration, not just your value. 4. Sacred imagination, parables within. Jesus taught with story, metaphor, and symbol. Esoteric practice invites you to do the same, not just to read sacred texts, but to enter them. Practice. Pick a parable, the prodigal son, the good Samaritan, the woman at the well. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in the story. Feel the dust underfoot, the weight of the jar, the voice of the master. Let the scene speak directly to your soul. This isn't visualization. It's sacred remembrance. 5. Daily alignment. Living as an initiate. Living the esoteric Christ path means bringing sacred awareness into the ordinary. Each moment becomes a temple. Each breath, a prayer. Practice. Begin the day with intention. Today, I walk as a vessel of Christ consciousness. Throughout the day, pause briefly, before speaking, before acting. Ask, am I rooted in truth? Am I remembering who I am? This constant recalibration transforms life from reaction into ritual. The door is always open. You don't need a church. You don't need a robe. You don't need perfection. You only need one thing, the willingness to remember who you truly are. Jesus didn't come to create followers. He came to awaken co-creators, humans who live from the inner kingdom, love without condition, and walk the earth as divine expressions. This path is not always easy, but it is real. And every step you take toward it, the Christ within you rejoices. Because you are not walking alone. You are walking home. So now, beloved seeker, we return to the question that brought us here: was Jesus an esoteric teacher? The answer is not merely yes. The answer is, he still is. Not as a distant figure locked in history, but as a living frequency, a divine blueprint echoing within your soul, waiting to be remembered. His life was not just a story, it was a spiritual template. His words were not merely teachings, they were activations. And his death was not defeat, but the unveiling of a deeper truth, that what dies is not who you are, and what rises is eternal. He showed us how to live as light in a world of shadow. How to forgive not as weakness, but as alchemy. How to suffer not in vain, but as initiation. And above all, how to recognize that the kingdom of heaven is not beyond the stars, but inside your own being, behind the veil of your conditioned mind, waiting for the inner eye to open. So the next time you read a parable, the next time you feel torn between fear and love, the next time you seek God out there, pause, breathe, listen, and remember, the Christ is not a statue, not a dogma, not a distant deity. The Christ is a code, a state of awareness, a light inside you whispering, you are not separate. You are divine. The mystery has never been hidden from you, only hidden within you. And now, you have the key. Thank you for walking this path with me today. If this message stirred something in your soul, a memory, a longing, a spark, you are not alone. You are part of a great awakening. So share this light. Reflect. Meditate. Begin the practice. And as always, keep seeking. Keep remembering. And above all, keep walking the inner path.